Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Hotseat Devy show. I would like to welcome you all in by starting with a Happy New Year. But Jack's an Ohio State fan, and I'm an Alabama fan. And if you've been keeping up with the college football playoffs, you'll know it's not a very happy start to our year. We'll move past that. We'll talk college football playoffs in just a moment or two. But let's bring in Jack. Jack, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Oh, I guess we did Merry Christmas, didn't we? We went out on Boxing Day, so
That's
Happy
right,
New
yeah.
Year. I'm doing well. Everybody's back at school and back at work. The chaos of Christmas is coming down a little bit, which is nice. And it feels like we've had quite a big gap in the college football playoff schedule. So I've been able to process and move on a little bit. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, man. Really well. Obviously, it's been a tough couple of weeks watching Alabama get absolutely humbled. The Baltimore Ravens never made the playoffs. So I went out for a run the other night, and I was looking for a hat. It's very, very cold at the moment, so I'm looking for a hat to put on, and I'm rooting for my drawer. And I was like, Alabama, no, that's embarrassing. I can't wear that at the moment. Baltimore Ravens, no, I can't wear that at the moment. So I went out and just got a cold head. I couldn't bring myself to get things thrown at me in the streets and heckled in the streets. So look, only one team can win it every year. This year it's not either of mine.
Yeah, I think that's a good move because we live in Yorkshire, so you probably get a hassle for wearing a hat outside anyway. You've got to be tough and northern up here, don't you?
That's it. That's it. Obviously, so much happened since we last met. When we last got together and recorded a show, it's actually before the first round of the college football playoffs. So we've actually had 2 rounds of games since then, and the storylines are just incredible. The natural order, the hierarchy, the institution of college football has been rocked to its very core. Alabama are gone, Georgia are gone, Ohio State gone. And we go into tonight. By the time this drops on Friday, we'll actually know who the first team is in the college playoff final. There are 2 semi-final matchups coming up: Miami and why am I blanking?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, of course, and then Indiana and Oregon in a repeat of the Big Ten clash from earlier in the season, where, of course, Indiana came out on top. We're nearly there. And I guess I wrote a piece this week for In Between Media and kind of said, this is like, for these 4 teams, it's now. They will never have a better chance, and logic dictates, well, yeah, of course, they're in the semifinals already, but they will never have a better chance than now because you can guarantee your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States, they're going to be back. They're going to be in there in the mix again next year. For some of these schools, it just feels like the perfect moment for lightning to strike.
Yeah, and that's not a criticism. That's not a slant at any of these teams because they can get better as well. It's just the fact that those traditional champions are out of the picture already. Indiana, super impressive rise. Kurt Signetti has transformed that program from perennial also-rans to the number 1 ranked team in the country and the only team that were on a bye that weren't eliminated in their first playoff game. I'm sorry to say, so absolutely destroyed their competition. They destroyed Alabama, and I don't see Oregon stopping them, to be perfectly honest. But Oregon themselves and a really exciting program on a more steady upward trajectory, I would say. A program that is very much benefiting from the NIL era and the amount of money that Phil Knight has to supplement that program. Ole Miss are the big story for me. I really like what Indiana are doing, but Ole Miss, in the face of Lane Kiffin, the lurking bad guy of college football right now, he's not making many friends, is he? Still trying to kind of tarnish Ole Miss's success this season, trying to take it for his own. He's chosen to leave. You're gone. Get lost. So Ole Miss doing it without Lane Kiffin, when Lane Kiffin left to have a better shot at winning a national championship, would be absolutely hilarious. And Miami, well, I'm not that happy for Miami because they flattened Ohio State and shut us down completely. And fair play, they were excellent. A couple of really exciting defensive linemen there that are kind of on a fast track to the number 1 and number 2 pick in the NFL drafts. So you've got 4 really exciting teams that, yeah, like you say, have a different history and background in, you know, not even college football playoffs, because they're not that old, but in terms of winning championships, Miami certainly been there, done that a couple of decades ago. But whoever wins the college football playoff championship game will be a first-time head coach winner. All 4 of these coaches would be first-time winners, and I don't think we'd have really hedged a lot of money on any of them being the next head coach to get into that club.
Yeah, no, totally. And little interesting tidbit, yes, it will be a first-time head coach for the winner, but it's well documented now that all 4 of those head coaches have served on a Nick Saban staff during his tenure at Alabama. So even though Coach Saban now hasn't been around for the best part of 2 years in terms of college football coaching, his imprints and fingerprints are still all over the elite levels of college football, which is exactly how it should be.
Of course you would say that. He's not even at Alabama anymore, and he's still front and center, the best thing you could talk about.
Yeah, I've got to cling on to something, haven't I? The way look, before we move on from this, let's just talk maybe the Cinderella story, and you touched on it with the Ole Miss thing going on at the moment. Now, Trinidad Chambliss has risen from nowhere. He's a name we've mentioned before. He's a name that Mags mentioned when we did our mock recently. Trinidad Chambliss is draft eligible. Okay, so is he the belle of the depleted rookie draft ball?
Or do you know what? If he declared, he would be suddenly the name above all names well, there are some quarterbacks that are already kind of established in this class. We've got some declarees who we know are going to be top of the shopping list for NFL teams. But Trinidad Chambliss's story is exciting, but also the tape that he's put on show this season is kind of worthy of some of the buzz. Now, I don't think there's enough on tape for him to be, well, for the NFL franchise that I support, I would not want to be taking a gamble in the first round on Trinidad Chambliss. Let's put it that way. The gamble would be high ceiling, low floor. So I can't imagine that he does declare this year, especially, as he's led Ole Miss so well. He's pretty much guaranteed the starting job next season. He has eligibility next season, so I can't see him leaving Ole Miss. But it would be a great story if he did declare, and a real conundrum for certain desperate NFL franchises who are clamoring for a new hope at quarterback.
Yeah, it's testament to how he's playing his best football of the season in the playoffs when the lights are shining the brightest. He's really come to the fore. So exciting with that kind of vertical kind of pressing, throwing style and that offense that they're running there still. And it's interesting because I've got people messaging me who, dip in and out of college football throughout the season, but really turn on at draft time because they like to dominate their rookie drafts. And they're saying to me, what's his profile? Do you have him in Devy? Because they're maybe not quite clued in on that part of it yet. And it just people are starting to take note. And just interesting. For me, if he declares, he could be the perfect depleted rookie draft pick. Let's be honest, those picks, you sometimes wonder where the value is. Right, there's always value to be had, and it could be him this time around.
Could be. Moving on from the college football playoffs, then the rest of the news is actually one big splurge of transfer portal chaos. And as we record, for the rest of this week, the rest of next week, it's going to continue to be breaking news after breaking news of this player entering the transfer portal, this player having a no contact tag as they enter, this player committing to a new school. And there are 5-star recruits. This is not just 3 and 4 star. There are high level 5-star Devy relevant recruits entering the transfer portal all the time. We know that big quarterback names like DJ Lagway is in the portal. We've seen Quincy Porter, the 5-star freshman wide receiver, enter the portal this week. Teardrop for my Ohio State Buckeyes. There are stories here, there, and everywhere, and to the point where we have kind of decided we can't really touch on the transfer portal right now. There are too many variables. We could be hypothesizing about who's going to go where, who should go where, what would be a good landing spot for this Devy player. But we'd be wasting our time and we'd be wasting your time trying to hypothesize where all of these guys are going. And we'd be giving you good landing spots, but we don't really know what those landing spots look like because we don't know how many players are going to transfer to this school and that school. So we've decided to hold off. We will pick and choose over the next weeks and months to focus on different transfer portal stories, but it is absolute chaos, which is really fun, but also a little bit heartbreaking in equal measure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I read somewhere that, I think it might have been on Monday, I read there are of all NCAA registered collegiate football players with eligibility remaining, 31.5% of them were in the transfer portal. Now that is massive, and it gives you an idea. Like, obviously, you know, you will have guys on your Devy rosters who are testing that portal and looking at where their future lies, and it's effectively college free agency now, isn't it? That's what it's boiled down to. But you're right, at such a massive scale, it is impossible for us to evaluate and keep up to date. Because, I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday night. By the time this drops for you guys on Friday, peek behind the curtain there, you know, whatever we tell you will be out of date because new information and new movement will have occurred, and it's just literally impossible to keep up to speed with it.
It is. And unfortunately, this is the reality of that many players being in the transfer portal, is that some guys have played their last college football snaps. They just don't know it yet. They're not going to find a place on a roster somewhere else. And also a caveat on this isn't all player pushed. Okay. So I've seen a few things recently talk about how players are kind of renegades. They are opting out of, you know, commitments. College football's not what it used to be. The flip side of that is that schools are not honoring these kind of long-term development goals either. Schools are pushing players into the portal saying, you're not going to get snaps next year. You need to leave. We need the roster space. We need the NIL money for somebody else. So there's all kinds of backstabbing and betrayal going on in the transfer portal as well. So don't believe everything that you read about your favorite player or about the guy that leaves your favorite team. It's not all black and white.
Yeah. Don't talk about the player who leaves your team and signs for your most fierce rival under those exact situations. We are not going to mention Parker Livingston by name, but this is a Parker Livingston promoted piece of content.
It is indeed. So tonight, Phil, we are going to bring back our favorite and iconic game that, of course, we came up with all by ourselves, and no one has ever used this kind of strategy towards a game before. We are going to play Sell, Hold, Acquire. This is a game where we take certain Devy prospects and we will chat about them. We've got 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs that we want to discuss whether they are players that we should be selling for Devy, whether we should be holding them, or whether we should be going out and acquiring them. No copyright infringement here. So we're going to dive straight into those quarterbacks. It's a simple game. It's a great opportunity to talk about some big names in the college football world. And we've decided to try and stick to players that are almost certainly rostered in your Devy leagues right now, whether that is a 10-round Devy draft kind of league or a shallower three-round Devy draft league, because we want to give you some actionable advice. Although, well, we'll see how much we agree. You'll have to choose whose advice you take. So we'll start with Demond Williams, the quarterback who was at Washington under Jed Fish. He is now currently in the transfer portal with a do not contact tag. Now that suggests that he has a destination in mind already and is probably ironing out the finer details of his NIL deal with that school. Demond Williams this season had 354 passing attempts, 246 completions, and for the quick maths crew out there, that is 69.5% completion percentage. He managed to rack up over 3,000 yards through the air, 25 touchdowns to just 8 interceptions. 8 still a fair amount, but the volume of passing kind of increases your likelihood of some of those being intercepted. He is also a dual threat quarterback, so it's important that we mention his rushing statistics. He had 143 carries, 611 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the ground. Phil, what have you seen from Damon Williams this season? What has he put on tape? What have you liked? Maybe what have you disliked?
So first and foremost, right, the thing to acknowledge, and you already alluded to it there, is the rushing floor. Remember, we're playing fantasy. This isn't an evaluation for your NFL team. Okay, this is about fantasy football. And that rushing floor, those 611 yards, bearing in mind as well, the sack loss yardage actually comes off the rushing totals in college football. To still put up 611 yards rushing this season gives you such a safe floor in kind of PPR leagues. And, you know, there's been some warts, there's been some development issues in terms of, I think I'd say hero ball, looking and to try and force things that aren't always there. But the future is so bright. The future is so bright. The thing that's a concern for traditional evaluators will be the size profile. Not many guys have experienced the success at the next level with his size profile. So he's, I believe, still sub 200 pounds. Not the tallest guy. And what that means is obviously that he carries an increased injury risk, and that'll be the red flag you hear and you'll see mentioned the most. What you can't deny is some people play fantasy to have their favorite guys on their roster, and he is so much fun to watch. Where he ends up will obviously be massive. Right now, again, this advice for me is simple. If you earn him until you know where his future lies, he is absolutely a hold. What I will say is, in spite of good, very good, in fact, adjusted completion percentages, I still don't think I'm rushing to buy purely based on what he's likely to cost and how we value and prefer to deal with our Devy quarterbacks. I don't think I've seen enough that tells me he's going to be a standout success at the next level to go out and break the bank for what he's likely going to cost because he's a name that's so well known.
Yeah, and his name certainly is increasing in popularity. This guy is electric. He's really fun to watch. So if you haven't seen any of Damon Williams, because he plays over in Washington, they're on the I would say late, but it's actually early Sunday morning slots, quite a lot. He is really fun to watch. He's got a real zip to his pass, and he is electric with the ball in his hands. But this guy is small, like slot receiver small. He's listed at 5'11". Now we can take some of these listings with a pinch of salt because this is the schools propping up their guys. He is listed at 190 pounds as well. And this really will impact his ability to see and read the whole field at the NFL level. That's my biggest concern. It's not necessarily the injury risk, it's his ability to read a defense and see the whole field that I'm concerned about. Damon Williams had a potential first-round NFL wide receiver in his arsenal this year. Denzel Boston, if he wasn't open, Damon Williams seemed to take off a little bit. And that is the concern to me, that shows me that maybe he wasn't reading the field properly. He was looking after the snap at whether Denzel Boston was open, whether he had a chance to get him the ball, and if not, was then making a decision about what to do next, rather than reading the whole field, diagnosing what the defense is going to do, and then knowing that, okay, Denzel Boston is still my number one option, but I know exactly where my second read is. And that's my biggest concern with Damon Williams. The injury risk comes and goes. We've seen quarterbacks who are like elite pocket passers, massive, agile enough, get worse injuries than small mobile quarterbacks. Bryce Young has done pretty well. He's a smaller guy. He's not suffered a serious injury, and that was a big knock against him coming in. So, injuries, the variable on injuries is quite high. So I'm not as concerned about that. I am concerned that Damon Williams isn't going to be able to do the bread and butter of NFL quarterbacking. And if you want to be able to do the flashy, exciting, electric running and bombs down the field and zip passes, sidearm passes that Damon Williams can do, you've still got to earn yourself a starting quarterback place, and the basics need to be there. That's what I'm concerned about. The ceiling, it's a classic. The ceiling for this guy is really high. The floor, I'm concerned about. Now, it's interesting that you said he's a hold and you're not willing to go out and acquire him. I agree. I'm not willing to go out and acquire Damon Williams, but that partly is because the buzz around the school. So we don't know which school he's going to. There doesn't even seem to be a real consensus about where he's going, but the names that are being thrown around are big time schools where the spotlight is going to be on him. He's going to be able to elevate his profile by playing there. That is the reason that actually this is the moment where I'm happy to sell Damon Williams. I don't need to see where he lands. I'm happy to sell because if I own, this obviously goes back to our strategy or my personal strategy. If I own Damon Williams, I got him in the 4th round or later, I'm happy to cash out on the profit and let somebody else hold the risk reward of could he reach that high ceiling?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And just for our UK watchers who listen to us talk mass and weight, and they hear us say 190 pounds and don't really know what that means. And just for the comparison to Bryce Young, 190 pounds in old money for us guys in the UK is 13 stone and 5 pounds. Okay. And for context, Bryce Young, who was much maligned and knocked throughout the process for being undersized and lightweight, measured 205 pounds at the combine in 2023. So that is a full stone and a pound, 1 stone and 1 pound heavier than Damon Williams' listed weight at Washington, which obviously we even feel then might be padded, just to give you an idea of size.
Yeah. And yeah, well, how do I say this? The NFL Combine isn't necessarily the best place to evaluate a player's full weight and size either, because you've got a certain amount of time where you're not playing. You're not at game size when you go to the Combine. There are certain tricks that trainers will, not tricks, because they're putting on muscle. They're working out in a particular way, but not in a way that they would if they were playing. So, yes, so there is the chance that Damon Williams could get to that kind of weight too, but you're going to see him on the field and you're going to think, no, he's not 200 pounds. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right, let's move on to quarterback 2, because I think quarterback 2 is in, I don't know about you, but I think he's in a very different position to Damon Williams.
Okay. I agree. So, you can say his name.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about jaron-keawe Sagapolatelli, QB at Cal. Now, Sagapolatelli, or JKS as we'll call him for ease, is not in the transfer portal. He has recommitted to Cal, which was a shock to many, because I think he would have had a long list of suitors had he decided to enter the transfer portal. And look, I'll say it, started day one as a freshman. We all know his story by now. This was the kid who enrolled at Oregon about this time last year. So he was an early enrollee at Oregon, whilst Oregon were building up for their playoff game with Ohio State last year. He spent 2 weeks with the program. It might not have even been 2 weeks. Before I think he fast established he was not going to be the guy. in front of Dante Moore and immediately re-entered the transfer portal. He'd never played a down in college football. He'd been on campus in Eugene for a fortnight, and there he was back into the transfer portal. 4-star, 5-star, depending on where you look for your recruiting services. He ends up at Cal. Cal obviously had lost Fernando Mendoza to Indiana, and he saw the opportunity to start straight away. He won the job and has not looked back. In his freshman season, 3,454 yards, 18 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. So he has got that perfect 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. But I think the important thing here is to look beyond the box score and to look at the tape. To be quite frank, left-handed quarterbacks never look overly graceful, but he looks just about as graceful as a left-handed quarterback can look. Some of the throws, quite simply, are already, in my opinion, of a Sunday quality. He is doing it without a stellar cast. That's no disrespect to the Golden Bears, but we expected them to be cannon fodder for the majority of last season, and he made them competitive. I think this is a kid whose value is only going to increase. There's not many guys in the Devy space where I look and I say, yeah, they're locks. I feel like this kid is on that trajectory. I'm not willing to say he's there yet, but he's on that trajectory. And for that reason, now is the time to go out and test an owner who probably, in similar fashion, got him for cheap, may be willing to cash out on a profit. But he's one I am looking to go out and buy before the price simply becomes unobtainable.
Yeah, I really like that breakdown of his value and what Jaron has put on tape. I'm really, really impressed with obviously his throws. Like you've covered that. The way that he throws the ball, some of the passes that he makes and the reads he makes, excellent. Also the ability to create himself some time in the pocket, because that offensive line wasn't dreadful, but it wasn't good. The way that he used his feet and the way that he saw where the pressure and felt where the pressure was coming from was really impressive. There are some times where that doesn't work out, because in an offense that wasn't so stellar, he had to hold on to the ball a little bit. So that you'll take the good with the bad. There are some like devastatingly bad sacks that he took, but the way that he did manipulate the pocket to give himself a bit more time and make some of those throws was really impressive. And that's one of those traits that actually college quarterbacks don't always show us, and sometimes they're really flashy in the pocket. They can throw the ball well, but you never see them develop that footwork to buy themselves more time, and that is actually exposed quite suddenly at the NFL level. So really impressed with that. I'm also excited because he's committed to going back to Cal when he really probably didn't need to. He was a name that I think both of us expected to hit the transfer portal, but he's shown before that starting is clearly important to him. Hopefully that means that the locker and the locker room and the culture at Cal is something that's important to him too, that there's a sense of loyalty there. And as far as I'm aware, I believe I saw this week that Ian Strong has committed to Cal, or at least is visiting Cal. I thought I saw that he'd committed to Cal. Now, that's a Rutgers wide receiver who we were quite excited about in terms of his production this season. Has been great. Not a Devy name, as far as I'm concerned, but a really good college wide receiver that would elevate. He'd immediately become the best wide receiver in that room, and that would be a great pairing. And that, if that's the kind of caliber of receiver that we're going to see go to Cal, hopefully that entices more players to consider Cal as a destination, which will only benefit Sagapatele. And I'm excited. I think he's an absolute buy. He's someone who won't cost you as much as Damon Williams, certainly, but could have has a more secure path to a future. None of it's fully secure. No quarterback has a fully secure path to the future. Am I right? Any DJU fans or Spencer Rattler fans who have gone by the wayside?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right. Some of the sacks moving forward can't happen. He was sacked 30 times this year. And you're right, some of them look bad. Some of them come up from, and it's difficult, isn't it? When you watch this, what do you want? Do you want to see him throw it away, or do you want to see him trying to do what the game script tells you, trying to go through his reads? And he's reading of defenses already for a freshman was impressive. He is going through his reads. He is reading progressions, which is obviously something you want to see translate to the next skill set. He just didn't have an offensive line that could give him the time to do it well. So yeah, it's 6 and 2 threes with that one for me. But you would definitely hope to see it improve moving forward. You're right. Like we've seen, starting is important, not just for him, which obviously was one of the reasons he moved to Cal in the first place, but I feel like we were early on this. I feel like we've been talking about QB starts as a real determining factor, and everyone else now, because of the success of some of our recent quarterbacks entering the NFL, everyone else is starting to jump on board like it's this new crazy thing. Like we've been talking about this, Jack, pretty much since our first show, and how that experience is absolutely vital. By staying at Cal, he's going to get it. And I just think a secure environment, more command of the offense moving into year 2. For me, he's one we've got to be going out and buying.
Yeah, I agree. He's a buy. Just on your point about like whether you want to see him throw it away or go through his reads. Actually, I want to see him go through his reads. He's a freshman quarterback. I want to see him learn how to read the offense, read the defense, progress through his play call before he develops the ability to know when the play is dead, because that can come. But if you develop the ability to throw the ball away when you need to before you're able to read the field properly, you're going to throw it away more.
Yep, absolutely.
And college is the perfect place for him to learn and develop. Like Cal are a team that, well, anything is possible, but I don't envisage them being a college football playoff team. They're not playing games to win the national championship. They're playing games to win individual games, but also to have fun, to develop, to grow. I think if he's committed to Cal, he's committed to the opportunity to develop as a quarterback, and that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, consensus. Let's buy
consensus.
JKS.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments who you are agreeing with most on these players. Damon Williams, are you holding like Phil? Are you selling like myself? And what about our next player? This is our superstar wide receiver, Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman is a freaky athlete, a beast of a wide receiver. Cam Coleman is also in the transfer portal. And we have spoken on previous shows about how Cam Coleman has the potential to be in that same tier 1 bracket of wide receivers that we currently hold Jeremiah Smith and potentially Ryan Williams within. Cam Coleman now has a big tipping point for me in his future. So if you've not seen Cam Coleman, he was at Auburn. He's in the transfer portal. This season, he had 57 receptions, 708 yards, 5 touchdowns. He is 6'3" and pushing around 200 pounds as a wide receiver. He was hampered by injury this season. He had a shoulder injury that limited his playing time and therefore his production. But this guy's a freaky athlete. The size-speed combination is scary. He's physically imposing. He's got a great vertical leap, great explosion through his jump. Clearly, at his size and with those traits, he's a red zone weapon. He's got circus catches on tape, though. It's not just a big-bodied wide receiver. This is a guy who has the flexibility and agility to make those one-handed grabs that we all love to see on highlight reels. And he's fast. He can run through arm tackles. So you really, as a defensive back, you need to get him at the point of catch. You can't rely on chasing him down or overpowering him once he's got the ball in his hands. On paper, this is everything you want from an NFL wide receiver, but Auburn have just been a mess. The Jackson Arnold experiment did not work. He's shown, unfortunately, that he's not the guy that we hoped he would be. And Hugh Freeze, the head coach, has been shown at the door. And there are plenty of players following him out of Auburn. And Cam Coleman is obviously one of those. Give us your thoughts, Phil, on Cam Coleman, his season, the traits you see in him. How are you feeling about him at this point in time?
Well, look, we've seen it. We've seen it. He has the potential at the collegiate level, and has already demonstrated the potential to be a game wrecker, a mismatch nightmare, and that will translate to Sundays. It will, no doubt about it. But this next move is crucial, absolutely crucial. The teams in the kind of if you believe the media hype and the media buzz that have been at the front of his recruiting, so to speak, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and Alabama. Now, obviously, where he ends up there is huge, because, simply put, going back to our game of sell, hold, acquire, this is a guy who, landing spot dependent, is about to dominate next year. And again, this might be your last chance. He's already going to be expensive. Let's not kid anybody. If you believe in the talent like we do and you want to go out and acquire, you are going to have to pay. He's probably got a price worthy of already a starting dynasty wide receiver 2, fringe wide receiver 1, who's already putting up those types of points on your roster because of his outrageous potential. You've got to be comfortable doing that, because even now, wherever this next move goes, and I'm looking particularly at Texas, this is going to be your last chance to acquire him at what he's already going to cost, because the price is going to go stupid.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. What would you trade him for straight up in the NFL? And I'm thinking players like, so think about the success that George Pickens has had this season in Dallas. I'm picking Cam Coleman over George Pickens. I believe in the talent too much to trade him for someone who doesn't have. If I'm trading him straight up for an NFL wide receiver, it's got to be someone who is guaranteed production, guaranteed to stay in the same offense for a while with the same head coach. Someone who I really think is locked in because Cam Coleman's ceiling is so high. We said we wouldn't speculate, but I would love to see Cam Coleman go to somewhere like Texas or Texas A&M, where the quarterback is settled, the offensive coordinator is settled, the program is on an upward trajectory, although Texas had a bit of a wobble at the beginning of this season and then improved towards the end. My concern, if he goes somewhere like Alabama, we know that Ty Simpson has just declared for the NFL draft. So there's a new quarterback incoming, starting at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer's potentially on a hot seat. Who knows? I mean, what coach isn't going to be on a hot seat after the success of Nick Saban? So that's maybe an unfair comment, but I really want to see Cam Coleman go somewhere where the quarterback is settled, the offense is settled, and he can just go in and be the wide receiver 1 alongside some other really good receivers that are still going to demand attention from defenses, so they can't just lock in on Cam Coleman.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just as a kind of value gauge, I think you named some good wide receivers there. Wide receivers I'd throw in a similar kind of bracket. Yeah, I like the fact you mentioned George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle. I think Michael Pittman, he's around that value already. If you're happy giving away those points, that's what it's going to cost you, I think, or draft pick equivalent of those types of players. But you're right. I just think it's going to go up from here. This might be the last chance to acquire him at a price you can stomach. And it's ironic. I don't have a single share. I don't have a single share, and I'd love one. I'd love one. So that's my homework. I'm going to go away and see if I can acquire a Cam Coleman share and maybe scare people about his portal potential, because I've got no worries whatsoever.
Yeah, I've got no worries. I'm saying hold Cam Coleman if you've got him. I think the ceiling will continue to grow as far as I'm concerned. He's definitely not a sell, and he's quite expensive to buy. So he's a hold for me. Hold is a really difficult one to define, isn't it? Because usually we just want to buy or sell these players, but he's someone whose stock will rise as soon as he lands somewhere else. So what you do with him after his stock rises, that's up to you. But right now, hold on to Cam Coleman. Do not consider any offers that are being sent your way. Sorry, Phil. Hopefully the people you contact don't listen to me. Okay, the other wide receiver is in a very different position, and it is Mylan Graham, also in the transfer portal. So maybe not that different, but the usage has been non-existent. Mylan Graham, one of my personal favorite wide receiver recruits that Ohio State have landed, and we've just seen none of him.
Yep, it's that simple, isn't it? This season, he has 6 receptions, 93 yards. That is after failing to register a single meaningful statistic last year in 2024. You would have to tell me, as the Ohio State fan, Jack, whether he dressed on game days last year and whether he actually saw the field on offense at all. But he didn't record a single snap. So over 2 seasons of collegiate football now that he's been involved, and let's be honest, an elite wide receiver factory in Ohio State, he's not been able to crack it. Now, obviously, the wide receiver zero, year one wide receiver zero metrics suggest that that is not a positive thing. However, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. This, to me, seems like the perfect time to just go and ask a question. If you believe in the talent like Jack does, okay, look, let's not forget what we saw from him in high school. Dynamic, shifty, fast, field stretcher, can do the work from the slot, can also work outside, but he predominantly played from the slot. And if you believe in the talent, someone might be ready to cut ties. And this might be the perfect time. This might be the perfect time to buy low. One thing is, at the moment, his preferred landing spot, if you believe everything you read on Tinternet, appears to be Notre Dame. Now, we've been critical in the past of how Notre Dame have developed wide receivers. However, I think for the first time in a considerable amount of time, Notre Dame have a QB that they are prepared to invest and build weapons around in CJ Carr. And Mylan Graham, whilst he doesn't fit the outside boundary X type that I think Notre Dame would like to give him a big target, Mylan Graham could be a very productive player in that offense with CJ Carr. They're going to be looking to move away from the touches and the passes out of the backfield that were directed towards Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. And yeah, look, there's a possibility that with the transfer portal, the wide receiver zero metrics aren't quite maybe what they were in years gone by, or the death sentence and the millstone that they were in years gone by. And this just might be the time. 2 years of nothing. An owner might be looking to get shut. You might get pennies on the dollar, for this guy. And yeah, for that reason, I'm willing to go out and have a punt. Like, he's going to be a low-cost punt with outrageous potential to land you big time.
Yeah, the risk is super low with Mylan Graham because of that production being absolutely nothing. And we've heard the year 1-0 theory, and it's been correct. But like you say, the next 2-3 years are going to give us some data on whether that is still relevant in the same way, or whether it's still accurate in the same way. Like, it's a really relevant, good study that those guys at Campus to Campton do. How it's changing with the transfer portal and with NIL and kids staying in school a bit longer might change. Mylan Graham could be the perfect case study for that, because the talent, we're going off high school tape. So, that's 2 years ago. He's not been competitively on the field on game days for much over the last 2 years. So a fresh start is definitely needed. Whether it will spark a change in fortunes, we'll have to see. I really hope so. I really like Marlon Graham. I own him in every Devy league and Campus to Canton league that I am in, which is obviously not worked out for me. I don't want to say that's bad process, because I loved him out of high school. I did. The process was good. The result has not worked. And part of that is Ohio State's wide receiver room. Some of those guys coming back for an extra year in 2024-25 season, and this year the continued emergence of Jeremiah Smith. You've still got Brandon Innis there, and Carnell Tate obviously exploding as well. But also Ohio State have played such a slow pace of football this year and run the ball a lot more, that the opportunities for players like Marlon Graham and Quincy Porter have been pretty low, especially with the acquisition of Max Clare in the portal last season, the tight end. So the opportunities are kind of shut down for Marlon Graham. If you went to Notre Dame, that'd be exciting. I don't want to ponder it too much, but there's so many opportunities there. I'm just thinking how exciting that could be. There's running backs are not going to demand the same touches that they have this year at Notre Dame. The tight ends aren't as good. They're not going to demand as many throws over the middle. It'll be great if he landed there. I'm also interested to see if he follows Brian Hartline to USF. That could be an interesting one. And there's no theory or rumor behind that. I'm just really interested to see what kind of pull Brian Hartline has going to USF with top end recruits. Obviously, he recruited Marlon Graham, so that would be super interesting. He costs nothing. I can't go out and acquire him, but you absolutely should if you don't play in a league with me, because I'm still not selling him. I'm riding that hope that this guy is going to come good.
Cool. Well, listen, we're 45 minutes in. Guys, if you are still here, if you're enjoying this, it is about time you liked, subscribed, and joined us at the Dynasty Hotseat, so you can see all the amazing content that has been dropped almost daily by the squad at the moment. Mags is doing an incredible job. The guys on the Dynasty team are hustling hard behind the scenes to get you ready for your rookie drafts. And we're going to keep dropping that Devy goodness to get your eyes on these players before your league mates, okay? So if you haven't already, what are you doing? Go like and subscribe, and make sure you've even got those notifications set so you can see every time the Dynasty Hot Seat drops some new content. Jack, shall we do running backs?
We should. Let's complete the set. We are going to start with Bo Jackson. This is my pick for, no surprise, I had to pick an Ohio State guy. I didn't pick Marlon Graham. Phil put him on the show sheet. But Bo Jackson is the guy that I want to talk about, because I don't know if there is a bigger buy, in my opinion, than acquire. We're not ripping anyone off. A bigger acquire than Bo Jackson right now. This guy, and obviously I've seen quite a lot of him. I've watched a lot of Ohio State football. This season, he has exploded onto the scene. He had 179 carries, 1,090 yards and 6 touchdowns, but also through the air, 19 receptions, 200 yards and a touchdown. The traits that he puts on show, he's explosive and he's twitchy. And he's taken his opportunity. CJ Donaldson and James People were completely leapfrogged on the depth chart. We entered this season thinking James Peoples was going to be the guy and CJ Donaldson would be the goal line back, and we'd see Bo Jackson scattered in a little bit here and there, but he absolutely took it on. Jackson averaged 6.1 yards per carry, and that is dreamy for any running back playing Power 4 football. It is excellent for a freshman. And according to PFF stats, they have a metric they call explosive runs. And on those 179 carries, Bo Jackson had more than 30 explosive runs. That is excellent. To see the fact that you can break a game open in pretty much any game multiple times a game, that's exactly what we want to see from your running back. This guy can force a defender to miss tackles. He's got good size. He's 6 foot and he's just over 200 pounds. That's kind of like your perfect size for a running back. You know, anything between like 5'11" and 6'1" is great. Anything between 195 and 210 pounds, that's kind of what you're looking for an NFL running back. There are exceptions, of course, but stereotypically we'll go with that. He's got a solid frame. He can add muscle to that without getting too heavy, and because of that, he can work through his contact well. He progressed throughout the season, so I'm really excited by how he took hold of that running back room. He obviously earned the trust of the coaches. He was disciplined. He didn't put the ball on the ground. He increased his usage, but still not too much. And he showed that variety of his game. He showed that he can run through the tackles. He showed that he can run outside. He has the agility to make those sudden cuts when he needs to, but also the speed to get outside when required. He's still fresh. He's obviously a freshman, but in his freshman season, he did not have any game, I think, over 20 carries until maybe the game against Miami, where I think he had 22 carries. Before that, nothing over 20 touches a game. So he's fresh. He's exciting. He's kind of got ownership of this running back room. And Ryan Day has shown in the past with Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, J.K. Dobbins before that, he's shown a willingness and a scheme to showcase and develop NFL-ready running backs. And I think Bo Jackson has a really nice, well-rounded profile like J.K. Dobbins did and like Trevion Henderson has. He's good at basically everything with certain traits that are excellent, which at the moment, I would say that's his like short area quickness and his agility. That's his like elite potential. But he's good at everything. He's good at pass pro. He's good at reading a defense. He's good at following his blockers. He's good at making a defender miss. Peoples has now transferred out. Isaiah West, the other freshman, is still in that running back room, but that's about it at the moment. There'll be an incoming recruit, but the Buckeyes are almost certain to bring another guy in from the portal, I would say. And my strategy, my theory, if you don't have Bo Jackson on your roster, is as soon as that transfer guy comes in, go and get Bo Jackson, because you'll see you could see a tiny dip in people's security on how much Bo Jackson is going to be used this season, and that's the time that I'm going to go and get him. I think the running back landscape in Devy there's nothing solid really in there at the moment. And I think Bo Jackson is right at the top of it. He's risen to the top.
There's not a great deal I can add up to that, Jack. That glowing endorsement of a player that I want. I want him on my teams. If you earn him, hold. There's not a price, I don't think, as an owner right now that I would entertain for a sell for Bo Jackson, because I think the price is only going to rise. And he is one who is showcasing a skill set that will translate to the next level as well. Obviously, we know that these guys are not guarantees, but he's about as close based on what we've seen as a freshman as you'll get at the moment in this running back landscape, I'd say. So there's no way I'm selling. I'm absolutely holding. But equally, you're right. I'm going to go out and look to buy. And I suppose the message is, again, you watch far more of the Ohio State Buckeyes than I do. You're right. You want to play on that fear of that transfer running back coming in. Okay, and I love the comp to Trevion Henderson. Did Quinshon Judkins really hurt Trevion Henderson? Or did, in fact, the spell and the carries elevate each other? It actually had the reverse effect to what everyone thought. So if you can pull that, all right, and buy a dip, because people worry about competition for touches. Actually, what they do is they spell each other and make each other better running backs. So yeah, I ask great advice, Jack, and a glowing endorsement of the guy.
Yeah. We're on the same page for that one, so you can't choose one or the other of us to follow. But I would suggest go and get Bo Jackson, but do not send me any offers because I'm not selling him to you. Okay, our final player that we're going to look at this evening is a Dynasty Hotseat Devy show favorite, a good oldie goldie, someone that Phil has been championing for a very long time and for very good reason. Phil, take it away with why you love Mark Fletcher.
Yeah, so look, I liked Mark Fletcher's high school tip, and I took swings on him early. And at times, I'll be honest, I felt like I was going to end up with egg on my face, and it was going to be one of these profiles that promised so much but delivered so little. And right now, talk about a hot streak. Miami are in the college football playoff semifinals. And Mark Fletcher is the catalyst that is driving that offense forward. Okay. Carson Beck is behind the wheel, and Malachi Turney is doing bits in the passing game and a little bit of everything. But the real engine, the real driving force has been the emergence, the real emergence. And it feels like a breakout of Mark Fletcher. And look, there's things to like. There's so much to like. Production has increased every year. So in his freshman season, he cracked 500 rushing yards on 105 carries. Sophomore season, despite some injuries and some lingering concerns, 112 carries, 607 yards. This season, he's picked up more and more as the season went on. He didn't start with a great deal of heavy usage, but he's finished the season with 177 carries, so an increase in usage, and 947 yards. Touchdowns have increased every year. He's remaining consistent at just over 5 yards per carry, 5.4 yards last year, 5.3 yards this season, in spite of the increased workload. He's no slouch in the passing game. 16 receptions this year, 132 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. They're not game-breaking numbers, but they're numbers that exist and add to his profile as a well-rounded back, particularly if you play in PPR leagues, which, let's be honest, the vast majority are now. I think the most important thing to me is he's emerging as a leader in this Miami team who is gathering a great deal of media traction. And when that happens, you've got 2 choices. You can hold or you can sell. Okay? Because everybody is going to catch wind of just who Mark Fletcher is. If they've been sleeping on him so far, more fool them. But now is the time. You've got a real decision to make. Is he a translatable skill set to the next level? I've got no doubt he'll be an NFL running back. But is he going to be a bell cow, or is he going to be a guy who gets lost in a committee and in a shuffle and is just another body, an RB2, an RB3? Or is he going to develop into the guy? That's the decision you've got to make. And if you back the talent, hey, I've got no problem with you holding. But right now appears to me to be the perfect time to sell, because he is riding a hype, a wave of momentum. He's already committed to going back to Miami next year. What's to say that that development continues? I mean, obviously you can hope that it does, but now just seems like the time, as people are catching wind of this guy, to sell. It might be a game of chicken. You might think, you know what, I am going to sell. I agree with you, Phil. Let's wait and see where that peak value is, because he might come. Well, he's already said he's coming back next year. He might roll into 2026 and have a fantastic season and really emerge as a bell cow. Again, you could choose to keep and hold. You could choose to sell, make some profit. I think I'm still leaning towards sell, but I would happily be convinced otherwise, Jack.
I'm not going to convince you otherwise, because I agree with a lot of what you said about Mark Fletcher. I have some concerns about his lateral agility, his ability to shake a defender. I mean, he looks like an absolute grown man compared to some of the players he's going, I'd say up against, but he actually just goes through them, up and through. This is a case where if I have no skin in the game, if I own Mark Fletcher on my Devy roster and I have no skin in the college football playoffs, I really want Miami to make that national championship game, to get past Ole Miss and be in that feature game, because Miami use Mark Fletcher more than I would say is advertised. And part of that is because Carson Beck is the persona that he is, and because Malachi Tony has been as productive as he has been, Mark Fletcher is the, at best, third biggest name on that offense right now. And I don't think that's fair, because I think he's got a better NFL profile than Carson Beck does. And Malachi Tony is very impressive. And I love Malachi Tony, don't get me wrong. But Mark Fletcher's not quite getting the same limelight that maybe he would if Malachi Tony wasn't a freshman. If he was a sophomore or a junior, I think Mark Fletcher would be getting a bit more praise. I think we love to hype a freshman wide receiver, or a freshman anything. So I am really hoping that Mark Fletcher makes it to the championship game. So I'm holding to sell, because I think that spotlight will be very helpful. Miami are, if they make it to the final, it's a home game. It's in Miami. Every playoff game that they've played has been at home, and that would be quite a story. I think Mark Fletcher is a corner piece of this offense, a corner piece of the team. I don't know what the team looks like next season, though. Miami rely on transfers for their whole team, because you can have a really good offense, but that doesn't mean that your whole team is going to be good, and therefore the spotlight might not be quite so bright. So I don't know who the quarterback is going to be next year. Don't know what's going to happen to the rest of the roster. I am hoping that Mark Fletcher plays a star role, or continues his current role in that offense for the next 2 games, whether they win or not. Obviously, if they win, probably better for you. And that's the time to sell Mark Fletcher, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So there you have it. 6 players, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, with a monster game of sell, hold, acquire. These are all guys that are likely already taken in your leagues. I think it's very, very unlikely that the majority of these guys are going to be available. But there's our advice. Should you be chasing them? Should you be chasing the hype? Should you be getting out high? Devy's a classic game of stocks and shares, isn't it? Buy high, buy low, sell high. Definitely don't buy high if you can help it. Unless it's Cam Coleman. He might be worth it.
Absolutely. Right. Let us know what you think of these guys in the comments. Let us know on X what you think of what we are saying. We really want to hear, as we said, there's a transfer portal madness going on. Who are the players in the transfer portal, or who have found a landing spot, that you want us to talk about from a Devy perspective? We would love to shape our shows to our audience. And so let us know if that is the 5-star Cam Coleman type player. Great. If it is the under the radar kind of guys who we're not really talking about in this show, let us know, because we do know them. We do like them. We do have thoughts on them, but we want to appeal to the general masses first. So we'll get you all sucked in with the top end talent, and then we'll feed you the gems and the diamonds in the rough that will mean that you dominate your Devy leagues for years to come.
Absolutely. Jack, it's been awesome. Should we do it again in a fortnight?
Let's make a date of it.
Excellent. All right, guys. One more time, you can follow the entire team on the Dynasty Hotseat, both on X and on YouTube. The guys on the Dynasty show are dropping fantastic content daily. Mags has his unbelievable rookie kind of drafts at the moment, with a whole series of high-profile guests, far more intelligent than us two. And, is giving you the edge running up to those drafts. Obviously, there's the worst team ever series, which is absolutely unbelievable. Some of the best unique and original content out there. And then there's us, the Devy guys. Like we said earlier, get to know these players. You might not play Devy. I hope you do. I hope we can convince you to play Devy. Okay, I genuinely don't think there is anything better and more exciting than getting your hands on these players long before everyone else knows them, and watching and sharing that stake in their development as they make their way and their journey to the NFL. We want you to enjoy it with us. And if you just want to, but if you're not quite there yet, if you're watching this for the Dynasty content, and we're hoping that we talk about more 2026 guys, don't worry. We'll show you how to spend those 27 picks, those 28 picks, those 29 picks that are coming soon. All right, get excited. Jack, how long do you think before we do our incoming freshman series? Should we give it another couple of weeks?
Oh yeah, we're going to need a bit of time to get the tape and some of those commitments as well. There's still some of them aren't secure yet. So, but we'll definitely get there. They were our very popular shows last off season. We will get there and let you know who the incoming freshmen are and who you should be rostering and which names are flattering to deceive.
Absolutely. So until a fortnight's time when we see you again, make sure you leave us a comment. Make sure you engage. We love talking to you. Okay, leave us a comment because there's nothing better for us than talking back and sharing that knowledge. All right. Until then, peace.
See you later.